In this episode of What's Going On podcast, the usual weekly feature segments overlapped. We also had a recording issue in our discussion of Save the Children, so we'll pick that segment back up next week. Listen as we cover some key components of the Big Beautiful Bill, and of course, like other episodes, we discuss our disdain for the current administration. I'm Thomas Corley with Keith Pickens and Mike Miller. This is the What's Going On podcast. Thank you for listening. Hey, Keith Pickens.
What's going on, TC?
Not much. What's going on, Mike Miller?
Hello, sirs.
Hey, Mike, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
It's a good day in the neighborhood, friend.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
No doubt.
Well, I guess that's questionable, Keith, because as of July 4th, not only did we celebrate our independence, and it was 15 days after Juneteenth, the Big Beautiful Bill was signed. Or as they call it, the One Big Beautiful Bill, OBBB, was signed.
Or depending on where you stand, the Big Ugly Bill.
Right.
Or it could be called a big bundle of bull. I mean, you can call it, if you want to stick with the BBB, it's a big bundle of bull. I'll leave that right
big.
there.
You know what?
Right.
Well, one thing is not the Better Business Bureau, right?
Right.
By no means or stretch of the imagination, but just to take a little bit of the edge off, when they voted it in, it came out as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So that's the official name.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought
they didn't let it go in as they didn't let it go in as that. It was it was voted on, and it's going to probably forever be known as that. The official name is the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I had to go to AI to get an idea of what was going on and have it summarize it for me. So we're going to try to work from that and see what we agree with and what we don't agree with.
Okay, that's good for me because I'm far from an expert on this topic. Like, obviously, I got some personal feelings, as I'm sure we all do, but in that package you're uncovering. So I don't know how much justice we can do. But if this is barbershop talk, none of us are going to be fact checked.
Exactly.
It's not the real time anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing I did too at the end, I asked it how it would impact Michiganders because I was curious what it would do for that. It's not much over what they already do nationally, but because we have manufacturing here, we went into a little bit of detail for that.
Offer it up, bro.
All right. Let me go back to when I just asked it to update. Okay. So as of Monday, July 7th, the One Big Beautiful Bill, also referred to as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or simply the Big Beautiful Bill, has officially passed both the House and the Senate and has been signed into law by President Donald J. Trump. The signing ceremony took place July 4th, 2025. Here are some of the additional insights and clarifications, current status, and key confirmations. Signed into law, this is most significant. Independent analysis, yes, sir. So here we go. Independent analysis, and I saw that it was like on MSNBC, they had 5 independent different ones. And it definitely says something totally different from what the White House was saying. So anyway, independent analysis such as those from the Tax Foundation and factcheck.org consistently projected that the bill would significantly increase the federal deficit over the next decade. Estimates range from $3 trillion to $3.4 trillion over 10 years, from 2025 to 2034. On a dynamic basis, even accounting for projected economic growth and spending cuts. The White House, however, has stated that the bill will reduce the deficit by $1.4 trillion, a difference that stems from how expiring tax cuts are accounted for. So, specific provision and clarification. The first thing they got here is the Child Tax Credit, CTC. The final bill permanently increases the CTC from $2,000 to $2,200 per qualified child with indexations to inflation. However, the refundable portion of the credit is also indexed to inflation, meaning lower income houses may not see a large credit.
I didn't see. A good buddy of mine put it very bluntly. He said it's calculus malarkey.
I like
That's what he called it. Calculus malarkey.
Yeah. Even without the calculus piece, it's a bunch of malarkey.
It's malarkey. Bottom line,
because on its face, we know what it does.
No, it's a bunch of malarkey. You're not going to have. They didn't extend the cut enough to, like Tom said, to really help the Americans that need the most help. And extending the credit from 2,000 to 2,200, that is not, come on, man. Come on, man. I'm just going to leave it at that. I mean, I'm going to leave it at that.
But every
Standard deductions, we can all appreciate this one. The standard deductions will be increased for certain taxpayers from 2025 through 2028. So that means temporary, right? With proposed amounts of $16,000 for single filers, $24,000 for heads of household, and $32,000 for married joint filers. The bill also includes a one-time permanent boost of $750 or $1,500 for couples to a standard deduction begin for tax payable for 2025. Now, I no longer itemize because I can never meet those numbers.
It's all sleight of hand. To your point, yes, it's going to, the standard deduction, they made it more difficult in terms of itemization, although from what I understand, they're bringing back credit for car loan interest. But all of it in a nutshell is sleight of hand because they give, but in 3 years, they take away. Right? Whatever you see, it'll be gone in 3 years. And we know how fast 3 years go by.
Right.
So whatever, it's going to be more painful when it's taken away. Actually, it's good to get a break, but I want it over a permanent period of time, not a year, 2 years, or 3 years.
All right.
Yeah,
But to
just
your
like
point,
the millionaires, right?
Yeah, it's not right. Just like the millionaires, what they're getting is permanent, or the billionaire.
Billionaires.
What you're getting is permanent. Yeah, Tom, I agree. When you look at your own situation and you say, you know, what I itemize doesn't add up, so I end up using the standard deduction. What they're doing is good for some and not for many. So there are some things in this bill that are beneficial, but for the most part, just from a generalization, we all know it's like Robin Hood reversed, right? Giving to the rich and taking from the poor. That's the part that bears on me, because whether or not it impacts me on an individual level, I'm more concerned about the overall populace and how many people it's going to affect. And we're just talking about one facet. I know you're going to look at different facets, but you're talking about the impact on income and taxes and so forth. But there's also other portions that are impacted that we know.
Medicaid and SNAP, which is probably the biggest thing that, you know, is as a generalization. The bill imposes 80-hour per month work requirements on able-bodied adults receiving Medicaid, ages 19 to 64, with some exemptions for parents. It also significantly cuts federal funding for Medicaid, with some analysis suggesting it could be led to nearly $1 trillion in cuts and potentially strip millions of Americans of health insurance covered by 2034. And then for the SNAP portion, existing work rules are applied to more beneficiaries starting in October 2027. Most states will be required to pay between 5% and 50% of the cost of SNAP benefits, a shift of financial burden from federal to state governments. States will also be responsible for 75% of administrative costs, up from 50%. Now, that was one of the things, too, that I wanted to mention before I started reading that, was that how the implementation or the timeline for the implementation for all this so happens to be after the midterms, when some of these things go into effect, which when people go to the ballots, they're not going to be focused on that because that's not going to be something that's immediate impacting them. I love it, Mike. Go ahead, bring it on.
Okay. And Mike, before you do, hold your thought. I just want to add something to what Tom said when he began the conversation around Medicaid and SNAP. I was listening to Bernie Sanders, and quite specifically what he said was you're going to be 16 million people off of health insurance by slashing 1.1 trillion. It's going to impact Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Not to mention that those people will be required to pay a $35 copay for any Medicaid recipient, which I guess wasn't in play before. As a result, it's projected that 50,000 Americans will die yearly unnecessarily because of these cuts. I put that out there in terms of the impact and some actual numbers around how many people it's going to impact, and that's based on information that Bernie Sanders shared.
He's correct. You know, that 80 hours per month work requirement, if you are physically unable to work now, if you're in that situation where you're physically unable to work, even if You can't work 80 hours a month. You're in that age bracket where it's required. So that means that you're not going to for Medicaid.
Right.
If you can work 80 hours a month, chances are you're going to make enough money that you won't qualify
Qualify.
for
Yeah.
Medicaid. So wow. Is that not a catch-22?
Right.
Basically, that's what Bernie Sanders was right. People just they can't qualify because the law says that they have to work X amount, but they can't do that for whatever reason. And that's what it's going to be.
Built-in exemptions, though.
I
If
don't
the
know.
economy is such that you can't get a job, then you still.
I don't know. I doubt that these fascists would put in any exemptions.
But the thing that you said, Keith, that caught me off guard because all the stuff that I looked at and read, no one mentioned the deaths. So that's insightful.
That's the
It
offer.
is.
So
Exactly.
that's the projection.
So that's,
And
what was it,
that's
50,000 a year?
50,000 a year, unnecessarily.
So that's 50,000 a year that paid into Social Security at some point, that you're not going to have to take care of. You understand? There you go. I get it. Okay.
What's next?
All right.
I know you talked about SNAP.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
obviously that's
SNAP.
significant because he also indicated the impact that would have on our children, the millions of children who won't be able to get a meal, which impact their ability to focus while they're in school because kids who are hungry, they're not thinking about the lesson per se, but they're hungry. They're thinking about eating and where their next meal is coming from. And so he talked about that being wiped out and $350 billion cut to education.
That's the big
$350 billion cut.
right. Public education. They put in provision that now people who pay for private education get a tax deduction or credit for the tuition. People that can already afford anything in the world. And you're just giving them more. It's almost like the government is paying rich people to be rich.
Yeah.
You understand?
Basically.
This bill represents the biggest transfer of wealth.
For sure.
From the poor and middle class to the very wealthy that has ever existed.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why a convicted felon who was convicted of fraud was given another $3 trillion. Access to the treasury like that. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why people don't wise up. But I didn't know it was this bad. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I didn't know that this many people were this.
Right.
I didn't know it had gotten to this point that people just don't know. Our country has always applauded thieves. Look at the Al Capone days. Everybody loved Capone. They loved all that gangster era. It was romanticized.
What was it romanticized during that time period, or?
For some people, for others, no. For most, no.
For most, fear and chaos.
Right. Correct. David, you see what the outcome was? People I don't understand. Americans seem to like thieves, and I don't get it. I'm just going to leave it alone.
All right.
I think it's deeper than that. Go ahead.
So the Medicaid programs are ran by the states already, right? Basically, what we're talking about here is reporting documentation to the federal government in order for them to release funds to the states to pay for these programs. I'm going to be the guy who's opposite of you two, I guess, at some point, who's going to say, okay, so the states are already running these programs. So either they're going to continue to operate efficiently the way they do now by documenting and having people report information, or they're going to make it because one of the things they were saying it was going to be because of the requirements or documentations they were going to require to prove themselves is going to be very difficult for people who are disabled, who can't get to an office or whatever the case may be.
Right.
The programs are run by the state, and the state is all for the programs. They understand that if they don't get these things taken care of, they're going to lose funding. The onus is on them to make it work. I guess that's my point. And it's not necessarily the federal government who's required to have these allocation of these funds. They're just going to allocate whatever the state says they need, but the federal government is saying, prove to me that you need this. I just don't see operationally what's the difference.
Like Mike said, it's just going to be more difficult for people to access the information, to get documentation, and you can always change the rules to make things much more difficult. This is well thought out, Tom. This isn't just a matter of let's throw the ball back to the states. If I've got the money and I'm allocating money to you, but now I'm changing the rules on you, yeah, the states are running it, but they still rely on the government to subsidize it because that money is not coming out of the state coffers. So if you're going to make it nearly difficult or almost impossible in some cases for folks to get to the money or for the states to, so you're going to mandate the states have certain requirements. And if those requirements can't be fulfilled and it's already projected how many people are going to lose out, I think even if those projections fall short, I think it's still going to be a significant number. The other side of that coin, what if that's a conservative number and there are more people? But the fact of the matter is, yes, the states are the ones who administer the program, but not without this financial support of the federal government.
Right.
So, but you don't see that. What you're saying is you don't see that as like, what's the issue? So now you got to do a different dance, and you'll qualify.
Well, not the individuals. I'm just saying the state would have to do what they have to do to make sure people who are on the rolls don't fall off the rolls and streamline the process.
So is it in the state's best interest to do that, or is it in the individual's best interest?
So individuals,
the state, I know the state's not corralling people. Sure that they're eligible for these programs.
It's not so much the process requirement for a person that can't work.
Mike?
It's just going to remove them from the rolls. You understand?
No, I don't.
Okay.
If they're already qualified where they're unable to do the 80 hours, they're already on the rolls.
And they're going to be removed.
But they
may be able to do that.
Okay.
But most won't.
Okay.
And the ones that will be able to do it, like the projections say, if you're working 80 hours a month, roughly 20 hours a week,
that's part-time.
Part-time, and you may end up not qualifying.
That's 22.
So, yeah. So for the people that are able to do it, that's fine. But again, the people that are unable to, that's the difference. That are unable to work the 80 hours a month are going to fall out. No matter what the state does, the person is in that age bracket, and if there are any exemptions, they don't meet those exemptions, but are still unable to work. They're just going to fall off the rolls.
I don't see that happening. If you're already on Medicaid and you're not working and you're not able to work, I don't see the change in that individual or that household. I see the change only for, and when I'm thinking through this, I'm thinking about the knucklehead cousins I have collecting these benefits who are able-bodied and can do more than 20 hours where they got it fixed so well that they got everything covered.
Right. Yeah. Some people are very apt at using the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not so many people that it's requiring so many changes in the law to go after a small percentage of people. You know what I mean?
That I
know
do.
These people,
yeah,
right?
You may be right in regards to the percentage because when they talk about fraud, it's like 1%, 2%, no more than 3%, and you're chasing after fraud like it's a big number.
And yet the military has increased their budget by 15%. We know there's a lot of fraud there. We all know there are people that cheat the system.
Yeah.
To dap everybody up. And that part is fraud. And so going at fraud is the right thing to do. The government is bloated. But not at the expense of making it tougher for people who genuinely need it. And to my point, if you get to that threshold and your income is beyond, but barely, you're still more or less indigent, then what is it all for? Yeah, I'm working more hours, but now I still can't qualify Medicaid because I'm making a little bit over the threshold. I don't know what it is, I'll be honest. But I just think that all the prognosticators are throwing out these numbers for a reason. Some of it is fraud, and I do agree that if there's a way to do away with fraud or eliminate fraud altogether, then so be it. But just don't put the burden on the back of other people who are least able. At the end of the day, like I said, it's really a matter of, if not stealing, taking from the poor and giving to the rich. And like Mike said, do the rich really need more? How many billions do you really need?
Yeah, they should be taxed just like we are taxed. If they're taxed at the same level we are, it's not going to affect the day on the yacht. It's not going to affect the day on the private jet. It's not going to affect, the month in Ibiza. Whatever taxes they pay is not going to affect their lifestyle. But let me go back to the part-time workers. So that's actually $14,000 a year. So I got to believe they still should be able to qualify for Medicaid.
I don't know.
I don't know the threshold either.
Like you said.
Yeah, I don't. But I mean, that's poverty level, though.
It is, right.
Yeah. One of the conversations that people have is that it breaks up the family dynamic by having an individual who's not married so they can get the benefit. But if you had a head of household who's getting $14,000 and you were supporting a family of 3 or family of 4, that's got to qualify them for SNAP and Medicaid.
We would think so.
Yeah.
I don't, again, the big bundle of bull, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens after the midterms, because that's when most of the people will be affected.
That'll be the general election at that point, because the midterms got to push back beyond. It's past that. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
But in the general election, the fascist in chief can't run again.
Right.
That it is what it is. He's done what he's gonna do and move on.
Do you want to talk clean energy or border security?
Clean energy.
All right. So the clean energy provision, the bill largely terminates many tax incentives from the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act for clean energy, electric vehicles, and energy efficiency. It specifically repeals the methane tax and aims to increase domestic oil and gas development. Let me go down to how it impacts Michigan. Energy policy and environmental regulations. Clean energy rollbacks. The bill largely terminates many federal tax incentives, as I stated. This has significant implications for Michigan, which has a stated goal of achieving 100% clean energy by 2040, and a strong automobile industry investing heavily in EVs. So the EV market impact, the elimination of federal tax credits for EV purchases up to $7,500 for new, $4,000 for used, could slow the adoption of EVs in Michigan and potentially impact the state's significant investments in EV manufacturing and charging infrastructures. Some in the automotive industry expressed concern that this gives an advantage to foreign EV manufacturers. Renewable energy projects. Utilities in Michigan may slow their investments in renewable energy projects, wind and solar, due to the accelerated timelines to qualify for tax credits, potentially prolonging reliance on fossil fuels and making it harder for Michigan to meet its own clean energy targets. And then now they're saying here, higher energy costs. Some analysis suggests the bill could increase average annual electricity costs for Michigan households by over $100 initially, rising to $230 annually within a decade.
Drill, baby, drill.
That's what they say.
That's what your president is saying.
And then on federal lands too, specifically, because that's untapped resources.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, go ahead, Mike Miller, lay it out.
I like when Mike says,
"Where?" No, you gotta grip your seat when he's about to come with it.
As far as Michigan is concerned, and the auto manufacturers, let me start there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna specifically go with Ford, who has said, "Yeah, ain't turning back." They have already made the commitment to go to an all-electric fleet by whatever year that is that they had. And GM has made something similar. Human beings, we don't go back. We're not going backwards. You can't legislate backwardness. It's been shown time and time again. I don't want to jump ahead to our next subject, but this ties right into it. Fossil fuels are a thing of the past. We have to move forward. We are accelerating climate change by continuing producing gas vehicles and using coal to generate electricity. We now know our science has been advanced that far that we don't have to do that anymore. So in Michigan specifically, what happens here happens everywhere. What happens to the water happens to you. So if our fossil fuels are causing more pollutants in the water just by the manufacturing process of fossil fuels, we can't continue to do this. Al Gore was right. We now know this today. This is a whole,
You mean
He didn't drop
the
Al
creator of
Gore's
the
name, did he?
the creator of the internet?
Yeah, the creator of the internet was right. You know, all the scientific studies have shown that, yes, fossil fuels have accelerated what's going on, and we're going to have to stop doing that. You can't, people move forward. The rest of the world has already done this. We can isolate ourselves in America and say, okay, we're just going to continue to produce gas-powered vehicles and you use coal to produce electricity and get rid of credits for clean energy. But ultimately, we have to do it. You can try, but ultimately, you know, the world has moved forward. We're going to have to do it.
But Mike, you're saying we have to do it. So
Right.
what do you mean by we? Because the private industry is not going to take that and hit the deck running with that. And now we're saying the federal government is dialing back. So
but it's not a choice. When I say we, I mean the United States.
yeah,
Because the other countries have already done it. We'll be the only country still trying to produce fossil fuel powered vehicles and fossil fuels for energy. That's old, and science has already advanced us. Trust the science.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying, Pete. Trust the science.
I
And
follow you,
Mike,
my
the
friend.
MAGA people don't believe in science. And even if they do, it's really for them more about the almighty dollar. When you got a president or fascist in chief, as you say, that says drill, baby, drill, that's everything we've been trying to go away from. Remember,
Right.
he won the election based on making America great again. And making America great again had nothing to do with the future. It had everything to do with the past. And so he's rolling everything back. And so as we try to take one step forward, he's going to push us 10 steps back. We're going to have to walk that back down when we have another administration that understands everything you said, because I agree with you 100%. But unfortunately, in this country, you can legislate against what's right. And they do it all the time. They've done it all the time. I think right now that bill on its face pushes us back, but it just puts more money into the coffers of the billionaires, the fascist in chief. I like that term. I think I'm going to start using it. And his billionaire buddies, because everything he does is transactional. Everything he does is geared towards the 1%. Everybody else be damned, because let's face it, even if those things that you said impact the common person or the middle class or poor person, there's always a way out when you have billions of dollars.
Right.
And so what Trump is saying, even in my lifetime, my limited lifetime, because I think he's 79 or 80 or whatever his age is, he's old as hell. And I don't mean that necessarily in years, just his whole mindset. He's pushing us backwards. So if you were sitting at a congressional meeting and you were espousing your viewpoints, anybody who had common sense would be nodding, yeah, you're right. That's what I was doing as you were talking. I was like, yeah, Mike, that all sounds good. And you're right. We shouldn't go backwards. But you've got a president who's definitely knocked us back several years, not a year. They're saying it's going to be tough or difficult to even get back to where we were when this is all said and done and we get a chance to implement some new legislation to go back in the right direction. The deck is stacked, and I'm typically an optimist, but seeing what I'm seeing makes me feel absolutely pessimistic, because there are other issues that outside of this ugly bill, it impacts all of us, but mostly people who are middle class, or let me put it this way, who are less than billionaires, right?
Yeah.
Or less than wealthy. And so I agree with you, Mike. I'm not discounting what you said. I'm not even disagreeing with it. I just think that the playbook 2025 foresaw all of this, and they're running it to a T. And I think you or Mike said that they may be even like 50% through that playbook. And it's what are we, 3-4 months in?
Yeah.
We got 3.5 years to go. God forbid how much further back we can go. But you're right. We need to get away from those forms of energy. It's just that it's not profitable for the billionaires. They're rallied against it. Remember, they're the ones who got them into office. They're the ones who financed the campaign. They're the ones who are benefiting or they're getting the return on their investment. Because really what it was, and then to make sure that party did everything that they wanted them to do. And it's happening. You see it. It's happening every day.
This is what, from the billionaire's perspective, they are just putting the squeeze on the country until all the resources are gone.
Yes.
And then we're going to be left holding the bag with the higher debt and the higher taxes that are about to come about. You're going to be left holding the bag.
Less spending power.
Yeah.
Have than the have not.
It's a scary situation because our dollar could just tank and we can't afford anything. Because
it's tanking time as we speak.
The value of our dollar globally?
Absolutely. Okay. Everything has gone up substantially in a short period of time, and it's just beginning. I can't even fathom next year or 2 years from now what we're going to be paying. They like to talk about eggs, right, and how expensive eggs are. Well, you better celebrate the cost of eggs right now, because in a couple of years, you're going to be crying even more. It might not even eat eggs anymore. Just saying. You talk about the value of the dollar.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When you have it was on the news this morning, car payments are now $1,000 a month. Not the average. That's like the floor. 1,000. I'm like, I can't imagine paying $1,000 a month for a car.
I can't wrap my head around it.
Ralph, are you kidding?
I cannot wrap my head around it.
Really?
If you're paying that much for a car, how much are you paying for living space?
Exactly. That's why he said, living expenses are through the roof. That's why people can't afford housing. It's all this reform around affordable housing. Housing is not going to be affordable in the United States. When the Chinese came and bought up all these properties, and they're managed by companies that are ultimately owned by the Chinese, because they were flying in plane loads of these people into California. And they were buying up everything they could, and now all they do is rent them and lease them. None of those properties. So the housing costs, and they did this all over the country, the housing cost is just astronomical. If you own a home, you're doing well. I'm thinking about Airbnb out this house. Get more and pay rent somewhere and get more for this house, way more than I'm paying in rent.
Yeah, no question. Tom, I know you were going in a certain direction in terms of your questions and what you really wanted to speak about. All of it's pertinent and relative.
It is.
But did you have something else that you were thinking about keying on? Because, renewable energy or climate change, that is just something that's going to impact us adversely for years to come.
Going back to the fact that if the private industry is not going to take it and run with it, and the federal government is dialing back, in particular with vehicles, we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have for charging. So how do we get to the point where we're like China and we have a infrastructure that's keeping up with the production of vehicles?
It takes time. It's keeping up with the production of vehicles now. I don't hear anybody. Well, it's not that I don't hear it. But you can get a charging station at your home now.
You can.
You can
charge that a lot.
And the life of the battery, the charge is about 350 miles.
That's kind of average.
That's the same as a tank of gas.
No, it's not. No.
Hey, Tom,
you have cars now that's 400 miles. I'm waiting for it to be 500 miles before I invest.
But you also have batteries saying go 800 miles. They're just not in every car right now.
I was going to say, I get 400 miles to a tank, a little over 400 miles to a tank. But I was going to say, Tom, just as an aside, imagine only being able to go 350 miles for the trip to D.C. Now we got to find a charging station.
Right.
If it's available. Long trips are going to be tough. And then when you get the charging station, it's not like a gas station where you pull up and gas up. Wait and hope that you don't have to wait too long because somebody's already got that station.
Right. Yeah.
That was an issue for many. But Elon Musk says he's going to start the American Party or something to that effect.
Correct.
That's going to combat some of this nonsense. And this ugly bill hurt him too. It hit him in a place where that supplement he was getting from the government for his electric car is going to go away. Or, could do.
He had a company that was helping people put those charging stations in their homes, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
he did.
And the tax incentive is gone for that. So where's the financial motivation for people to do that, to purchase a car?
It's slowed down, like you said, but Ultimately, again, the commitment has already been made. Ford has already changed over. GM has already pretty much changed over.
Didn't Mary go to the president and saying, okay, basically, what are you doing? I mean, and then didn't GM stop?
It's so much to produce the vehicles.
Right.
In engineering, you're not going to be able to, you can't turn back now. You can't turn back. He can try and legislate it, but at some point that legislation is going to say, okay, no, dude, we can't do this anymore. People are moving forward people are going to drive that. The market is going to drive
Well, I
that.
was going to say the market's going to have to be.
But yeah, that's what I was going. The market is going to drive it. People are going to drive it because that's what always happens. Horse and buggy and cars. Gas-powered vehicles. People are going, I'm never going to do that. I can feed my horse, give him some hay and some water. It'll take me all day. Do this and do that.
Legislation.
Yeah. So ultimately, Tom, you were saying, what's the incentive? People are the incentive. They're going to dictate what the market is going to do.
I like that.
As the younger generations, as more people buy electric, because they're going to see that, yeah, it costs more, but you don't have any oil changes. You don't have to do all this maintenance. You know what I mean? All these tune-ups and this. No.
I have an argument for that, Mike, because young people, don't want to drive. A lot of them aren't getting their license. They don't mind ride sharing.
Right.
I saw
those ride shares are going to be electric.
Yeah, but it's not going to be the millions of cars coming across the production line for those, though, either.
Right.
But guys, let's be serious now. We're back to who's paying $1,000 a month to purchase a vehicle. So now, how many people are going to even be able to afford, whether it be gas or electric?
Yeah.
So then what happens to the market? Does that drive prices down? That's supply and demand dictate that would drive prices down.
Exactly.
You got building costs that's escalating the cost to the corporation and say we're willing to give in so that we can move some of these vehicles.
All right.
You're right.
All right. So let's go on. Immigration and border security. The border wall construction is going to include $46.5 billion. The capacity expansions allocates of $45 billion. ICE funding and personnel is another $30 billion, with an estimation of about hiring 10,000 officers. I don't understand this whole process of asylum fee, seeing that part of the process of trying to come in here legally. Imposes a minimum $100 fee for those seeking asylum, down from an initial House proposal of $1,000 due to parliamentary rulings. And then they're going to block access to taxpayer-funded health benefits for undocumented immigrants. Going back to the border wall being finished, that's the estimation. That's the estimation. But actually, somebody on the Hill said that, okay, we're giving you $46.5 million, but you're not going to finish
the border wall.
The border wall. You're not going to finish with that.
That's what I said.
That's not enough money to finish it.
Leave it alone.
Don't leave it alone. Go with
what? 46 billion? What kind of wall is that?
What kind of wall?
And then the additional funding for immigration, ICE agents, and border protection. What are you so scared of?
I think it's a travel.
Yeah, if America's so great, and America is great, I'm not saying America is not great. I love this country. I always have. I just want it to be better.
Yes.
So when people protest or say things that seem to be against the government, they're not against the government. They just want things to be better.
Right.
That's all. That's American as it gets. All love this country. We all love democracy. We all want things to be better. So these people that are coming here, by any means necessary, they want to live here too. They want to work. They want democracy. They want to live in a better society. Yes, I understand the legality of doing things the right way.
The right way.
But he seems to be very scared of something. A lot of people seem to be just so terrified. What are you so terrified of?
Mike, how does, when you look at most immigrants, how do they look?
People of color.
people of
Well,
color.
no. Okay, all right. Let me. I'm glad you said that. We
Come with
out. I just do not believe that
Mhm.
every immigrant, and we know that's true, every immigrant is not of color.
Right.
Those that are crossing the southern border are. What about all of the illegal immigrants out here that are not of color? Are we deporting any of them?
About it.
You can't tell me that there are not a couple of million illegal immigrants who are not of color that are living here and aren't really worried about ICE agents because they walk freely simply because of the color of their skin.
They can assimilate.
They can assimilate, and unless ICE is keeping track of them, they can go to work and do whatever they need to do to live and to citizen. I don't see any of them. Every person I see being deported seems to be of color.
Absolutely.
That's what I see. So I would like to see some of the news agencies look at the racial breakdown, who's being deported. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, and F, all of them. What percentage are being deported? And what percentage are here illegally? Because I'm sure that there's some count of that somewhere.
Well, even if you come here legally, you still can be here illegally because if your
Right.
visa expires,
That's what
your student
Right.
visa or
Right.
working visa,
Right,
if
right.
those
What I'm saying.
expire, you're
Right.
here illegally.
Now
And
let me interject and just say that, and I'm maybe going against the grain. I really don't have a problem having illegals held to account. I'm not talking about disrupting families and brutalizing people in the way that they're doing it, particularly people of color. Like you said, Mike, they're Caucasians or whites who also are here illegally. But I think that, if we're keeping it real, there has been for years a lot of people, whether they be people of color or white, probably just as many, if not more, but I don't know because there's not a number out there that I've seen, who are here and they're not handling their business. Almost to Tom's point earlier, if you're going to do it right. If there was a way to make people come to the table and fess up, give them some kind of leniency, give them an opportunity to correct whatever it is. If I need to get my paperwork right, I'll get my paperwork right. But illegal means illegal for a reason.
right.
So
Correct.
even though the
Correct.
president don't
Correct.
feel like he's accountable to any laws, but I can't drive around without a driver's license. You know what I'm saying? I just can't go break into somebody's house or a store. You have to respect the law. So to that extent, people should be held to account. But should you be deported to a country that you're not even familiar with or from? Should you be deported at all? You should have due process, which
Right.
means that now you have to address the fact that you didn't renew your visa or that you're here illegally. You're going to have to make it right or you will be deported because most of those people aren't going to go away of their own accord. When you focus on people of color specifically, it comes from a place that's really racist or the appearance of racism, because now you're trying to get rid of people of color. You're totally disrespecting them and not giving them any due process, which you're supposed to do, right? But now the Supreme Court is saying, as the president, you can dictate whatever you want to dictate. And if you want to send these people to another country that they've never been to, even though it's not safe, then you had a right to do that. So I think that the whole focus of dealing with these individuals, I don't think that's so much as a wrong thing. I just think it's the way they're going about it. Because
Correct.
like I said, you have an avenue to come here. And if you would do it, then we shouldn't be able to just uproot you. But the laws are the laws. And it's that, the way things are going, they talked about birthright citizenship. Hey, somebody posed the question, does that mean African Americans to be revoked because we didn't come here of our own accord initially, because we are all ancestors of somebody? If you go back to slavery, then they weren't citizens initially. It begs the question, but the truth of that matter is, just to take it a step further, that means everybody here would have their citizenship revoked because
Thank you.
the original people came
Thank you.
Well, England, they were British.
No,
So,
before them. They
okay.
they have to go too. Look, if you really want to say the Native Americans, this was their land.
They don't have to go anywhere.
So
They have the
right.
yeah.
Everybody else got to go. If you're not
Gotta go.
under that premise, everybody in this country would have to go.
Absolutely.
But we were all born here. Our parents were born here. Our grandparents were born here. Our great-grandparents were born here. It's what it is. It's what it is. I have plenty of people in my family who have fought for this country, including my brother, who was an Army Ranger. I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear anybody's crap about, oh, I'm sorry. And yeah, oh, that's right. I don't want to hear anybody's crap about who belongs and who doesn't belong.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
But
you're
the only
here
reason I need
now-
that. Yeah. Go ahead.
I understand the immigrant process policy, but in my mind, and I'm just going to say it, other people have said it, America always has and always will need, in lieu of the word slaves, I'm going to use it's underpaid people. We always have and always will need people that are underpaid and overworked. The immigrants that are here illegally, that are working and being paid, still have to pay they still pay taxes, including the Social Security tax.
But do they pay federal taxes?
Yes.
They do? They pay federal?
Yes, the employer is required to take those taxes out of their paycheck. So they'll never collect a dime of that. The people that are here illegally will never collect a dime of that Social Security money they've been paying into all these years.
Right.
Are anybody saying, well, we're going to give you back that money? Nope. So you paid into a system and you worked, even though you're here illegally. I'm not, like Keith said, you have a right to due process. So in my mind, if there's a legal immigrant that's been here X amount of years, that's working, doing everything right, their paperwork just isn't right, give them an opportunity for the due process. Give them the opportunity to make it right. Snatch them out of the field or snatch them out of Walmart or snatch Home Depot while they are working. Obviously, those are not criminals. Those aren't the bad people that we claim that the felons
not working for me.
that we claim we want to get out of the country. No, don't do that. Yeah, maybe arrest them and say, hey, you have X amount of days to appear in court. You're going to need an immigration lawyer.
Here's the whole thing with the whole bill. It talks about all these other things, but it doesn't talk about reform. That's what you're talking about.
Right.
That's what you're talking about, Mike. You're talking about basically reforming.
You're correct.
But that's the crazy thing about this whole immigration part of the bill, that it doesn't give an opportunity for reform or improving the process. The bill focuses on everything to
punish,
but
not to reform.
But not to reform. What's the mechanism for the improvement of the process? So who was it? One of these presidents back in the 20s, I think it was, where they had immigration open and then they kind of froze it. And then for 40 years, they were trying to get it going again. So in 65 or something like that, they opened the doors again. And that's when you start getting all these Jamaicans and Africans and Indians, Haitians. Yeah, just influx of all these people coming into the country. And then all of a sudden now they want to turn the spigot off again. And then created some kind of program where you had to have a working visa in order to come here. I don't know. Just with the process of all that going on, they didn't take any time to work on the improvement of the process of immigration. To learn more about today's topics, become a subscriber, text us, or become a supporter, go to the show descriptions. That's all the time we've got this week. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with the What's Going On podcast.